90% of working parents believe that parenting made them better leaders. Parenting has challenged my ability to regulate my emotions like nothing else before. It's no good giving vague instructions and then yelling about mistakes. When leaders are vague or reactive, teams become anxious and disengaged. In leadership, just as in parenting, I needed to find the balance between not doing enough and doing too much. G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lead on Purpose. My name's James Middleton, and over the past 20 years, I've led teams of all shapes and sizes, from the Australian Air Force through to the private sector. These days, I work with organisations to develop ethical, purposeful leadership at every level. And I also help you become the leader that you want to be. I explore real-world leadership challenges, share inspiring stories from experienced leaders, and bring you practical strategies to help you lead with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Today's episode is a little different. It's a little more personal. I'm going to talk about my experiences as a parent and how they have shaped my approach to leadership. I'm going to talk about the relationship between parenting and leadership and share 5 lessons that I've learned as a parent that have helped me become a better leader. Over the last 7 years as a parent, here's what I've come to realize. Whether you're raising a child or leading a team, you're doing the same things. You're influencing rather than controlling. You're creating a safe space for growth and fostering a commitment to learning. You're modeling the change you want to see rather than forcing it on other people. You're regulating your emotions under pressure, and most of all, you're showing up, especially when it gets hard. Becoming disciplined in these behaviours at home has had a tremendously positive influence on my ability to lead. Now, this is my own lived experience, I know, but I'm not alone. One study in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that leaders who are also parents tend to score higher in emotional intelligence, empathy, and conflict resolution. Another study by Bright Horizons showed that nearly 90% of working parents believe that parenting made them better leaders, citing improvements in patience, listening skills, and time management. Now, I'm not saying that being a parent inherently makes you a better leader. Of course not. But the lessons that I've learned and the skills and behaviours that I've developed as a parent have absolutely helped me become a better leader. So, I'm going to share with you 5 of those lessons and how they helped shape me into the leader that I am today. Lesson number 1, respond, don't react. Parenting has challenged my ability to regulate my emotions like nothing else before. Being a father to an energetic and headstrong young boy has taught me that letting my emotions drive my reaction to situations is almost guaranteed to make things worse. Rushing to get shoes on before school when I know we're running late. Asking for a library book that's nowhere to be found but needs to be returned today. Or hearing a firm no when I've asked my son to do something that I know is in his best interest. These things light the fuse within me to an emotional reaction that will explode and make things worse unless I regulate myself and choose to respond rather than react. When I respond, I'm choosing to listen to the smart part of my brain rather than the emotional part. When I respond, I'm able to connect with my son rather than trying to control him. And when I do that, we work through the challenge together. In leadership, it's the same. Missed deadlines, lapsing standards, or interpersonal conflict can light that emotional fuse. But reacting will only push people away and foster discontent and disconnection, neither of which will help us get back on track. As leaders, we need to regulate our emotions so that we can respond intelligently to a situation rather than reacting irrationally. This is emotional intelligence in action. Learning to respond rather than react has helped me be at my best to lead through the tough times. Lesson number 2, communicate clearly and calmly. A request to get ready for bed. Sounds simple, right? Sure, maybe to us as adults who've had the same nighttime routine for the last 20 years. To me, asking my son to get ready for bed means stop what you're doing, go and have a shower, then brush your teeth, put on your pajamas, and pick out a book for us to read together. But to my son, it can mean anything. Brushing teeth, building that last bit of Lego, or starting a dance party to get those last-minute wriggles out. Or maybe he feels ready for bed just as he is. Still in his school uniform, but with only one sock on for some reason, and covered in dirt from a huge day of fun. As a parent, I've learned that if I want my son to do something in a certain way or move towards a certain outcome, it's up to me to create the clarity needed to do so. Not only clarity about the desired end state, but quite often also clarity around the steps needed to get there. I also need to communicate calmly, because yelling instructions rarely gets us headed in the right direction. As a leader, I need to understand that my team or my organization need clarity in order to work together towards a goal. We need to be on the same page with what good looks like. It's no good giving vague instructions and then yelling about mistakes. When leaders are vague or reactive, teams become anxious and disengaged. For my team to be productive, I need to have the discipline to create as much clarity as I can about the goal, the expectations, and the do's and don'ts of how to get there. Clear, calm communication creates alignment and builds trust. So whether you're managing bedtime or leading through change, understand that it's your responsibility as a leader to calmly create the clarity needed for success. Learning to communicate clearly and calmly has helped me lead with clarity through some of the most complex challenges that I've faced. Lesson number 3, embrace change. If there's one thing parenting guarantees, it's change. Just when you've nailed the sleep routine, teething begins. One day, bananas are a favorite, and then suddenly they're the enemy. Now, it's probably because the last one was a little too brown and soft. I get it, that's gross. Whether parenting or leading teams at work, things change, plans fall apart, and that's okay. As a parent, my goal is to raise a happy, healthy, well-adjusted child. What is required of me to achieve that goal is going to change year to year, month to month, even day to day. Being a parent has taught me to let go of the idea that I can control everything. I need to expect change and adapt quickly when it happens. This concept translates well into leadership in the modern workplace. Markets change, technology changes, priorities shift, and teams evolve. As leaders, we set the standard for how change is handled. We can't afford to stagnate by trying to control everything. That just fosters resentment and fear towards change. We need to embrace change and adapt in order to keep moving forward. When we do this, we build resilience and adaptability into our organizational culture, which helps us succeed through change rather than merely surviving in spite of it. Learning to embrace change has helped me build and lead adaptable, resilient teams. Lesson number 4, set boundaries for myself. Kids need boundaries. Adults need boundaries. I, as both a parent and as a leader, need boundaries. As a parent, one of the biggest challenges that I've faced is learning not to jump in and solve every problem my son faces. I want to protect him. I want to make things easier and smooth the path. No parent wants to see their kids struggle. But this struggle is what helps them grow. It helps them develop resilience and learn to solve problems rather than being paralyzed by them. For example, when my son was learning to ride his bike, the fear of him falling and hurting himself caused me to hold on tighter, to try and control things more. But by doing that, I was robbing him of critical developmental experience. To learn to balance, he needed to risk falling over. He was getting so frustrated that he just couldn't get it. But it wasn't his fear that was holding him back, it was mine. Through that process, I learned that my over-involvement can negatively impact his growth. So I set a boundary for myself. I won't rescue him from every challenge. I'll support him. I'll guide him. I will be there as a safe pair of hands to help him up if he falls. But I won't take over unless absolutely necessary. Like when his bike's heading for the road with no sign of stopping or changing direction. In leadership, just as in parenting, I needed to find the balance between not doing enough and doing too much. I've had to set boundaries around how much I step in when my team faces difficulties. It's easy to become the fixer, the one everyone comes to with problems because we have all the answers. It can feel nice to feel needed. But when I do that, as a leader, I create dependency. When instead, I need to be supporting and empowering people to solve their own problems. Even if that increases the risk that mistakes might be made, I can manage that risk by remembering my own lessons about clarity and change. If I step in and take control every time the proverbial bike wobbles, it's my fear holding the team back, not theirs. Setting boundaries for myself doesn't mean stepping away and letting my team fend for themselves. It means creating space for growth by stepping back while supporting others to step up. These boundaries tell my team, or my son, that I trust them. I trust them to try, and I understand they might falter, but I'll be there to help them up if they fall. In leadership, just as in parenting, we need to find the balance between doing not enough and doing too much. Because sometimes it's what we're doing rather than what we're not doing that's actually holding the team back. Learning to set boundaries for myself has helped me build leadership capacity within my team and reduce dependency on myself as a leader. Lesson number 5, own my mistakes. Parenting has taught me that mistakes are inevitable. It doesn't matter how well I plan or how well I prepare, I will make mistakes. But the mistake itself isn't that important. It's how I handle it that really matters. I've lost my temper. I've broken a promise. I've said one thing and done another and turned myself into a hypocrite in seconds. But I've learned that when I own those mistakes, I create connection and repair the rupture in the relationship with my son. I show him that I'm not perfect, and that's okay. I also set an example for the kind of man that I want my son to become. When I say, I'm sorry, or I got that wrong, I'm modeling the humility to admit that I'm wrong and the courage to speak up about it. I'm teaching him that mistakes aren't something to be ashamed of. They're something to learn from. And in leadership, it's the same. We all make mistakes. In the professional world, if we aren't making mistakes, then chances are we aren't trying hard enough to innovate and grow. When we own our mistakes as a leader, we build trust. We show our teams that it's safe to be honest and to take risks in pursuit of growth, as long as we're learning. Owning your mistakes is a sign of strength. A sign that you have the courage and humility to lead and parent with integrity. And that is a powerful platform for personal and professional growth. Learning to own my mistakes has helped me lead with integrity and be the cultural change that I want to see. So there you have it. 5 lessons that I've learned as a parent that have helped me become a better leader. So let's quickly recap, respond, don't react, so that you can be at your best to lead through tough times. Communicate clearly and calmly so that you can lead with clarity through complex challenges. Embrace change so that you can build and lead adaptable, resilient teams. Set boundaries for yourself so that you can build capacity within your team and reduce dependency on yourself as a leader. And own your mistakes so that you can lead with integrity and be the cultural change that you want to see. Parenting and leadership are remarkably similar. They both require empathy, emotional intelligence, and resilience. They test us, sometimes to our breaking point, and they teach us how to show up, especially when things get tough. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Lead on Purpose. If today's episode gave you something to reflect on, tell me about it in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who's ready to become a better leader. Remember, leadership isn't a title, it's a choice. So make that choice and keep leading on purpose. My name's James, and I'll see you next time.